like, I think 7 weeks old. We have this group of friends that we call the second fam. So like there's the family that you can't choose, and there's family that you get to choose. And that's our this really close group of friends we call the second fam. So our second fam rented a cabin in North Idaho for a week during the summer. And Emerson was, I think he was 6 weeks old, 7 weeks old. And I still remember the amount of gear that it took to get like one little teeny tiny kid. That's like, on the highway to a house. We bought one of those Thule roof boxes or whatever. And we have like a full Toyota Highlander, like full size SUV. And we barely had enough room. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, we stuffed the Ram, the whole back cabin with Chloe stuff. You got the pack and play, you got the noise machine, we got the blackout tent and all that stuff. It's amazing how much room those things take up.
Yeah. Well, I remember we had this thing, it was like an automatic rocker. We'd like put Emerson in it and like press the button and be like, and we brought it.
That.
Yeah, and he hated it. Like it didn't work.
No, you will like this. You don't understand the effort I went through to get it here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, seriously.
We just drove up kind of the mid-Willamette Valley, west central Oregon Cascades, if you will. We just got up there yesterday, and I want to take my Jeep so bad because I took it up last year and had an epic adventure up by Mount Jefferson. And when I looked at the things that my wife had stashed at the front door, I'm like, this isn't going to fit in her car, let alone mine. Like, man, maybe I could strap some of this to the roof. Like, should I go run a U-Haul trailer? It's like, how long are we going to be gone again for 1 week? But we have 2 separate pack and plays, 2 of those, little tables that are the kiddie chairs that they can eat at, with the trays that like hang from the table, a bag for them. My wife and I long ago figured out that we need separate bags because she gets very frustrated with how I pack. So we have that, all their toys. It's just like, this is why I don't even like to leave home.
It does get better, but yeah, it's pretty gear heavy for a while.
So anyways, everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining. For you guys if anyone is watching on the live stream, thanks for coming along, and otherwise probably catching you on the re-record. But basically, the 6 of us, all Jeep guys, wanted to hang out, and we're actually all going to send each other our favorite bourbon. And then we just figured out, the practicality of it's maybe we should just be better off picking out our own, just hanging out, talking about the last year, and then maybe some things that are coming down the line. So just in case people haven't seen all of your channels, I don't know if this order you guys are seeing is the same as me, but Greg, you're in the top left. So if you want to start out just talking about what your channel's about, what your last year has been like, we'd all like to hear it.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm Greg, aka TrailNewbie, and I've only been doing this a couple years. Kevin and I have been going out for about 1.5 years on trails, right? Like that's the extent of it. Central California, the Sierra Nevada mountain ranges are generally where I do a ton of overlanding, off-roading, Jeep camping, etc. And this last year's just been a little slow for me just in terms of content because I didn't do anything really in the spring, like hit some winter camping with Kevin, work got crazy, and started doing some things kind of in summer and into the fall and winter here. So still ramping up from that perspective, and looking forward to next year.
Cool. And I may have missed it. Did you say what you drive?
Yeah, so I drive a 21 Jeep Rubicon. Doesn't have a name, unlike Ed Shin's vehicles. It's just a white Jeep with a black top. So maybe if somebody wants to reach out on Instagram and tell me what I should name it, that'd be helpful, because
wouldn't you have to get rid of your nice Rubicon sticker to do that?
Yeah, it's true. I'd have to. I should change it to the same letters, but put TrailNewbie across it or something like that. So
there you go.
Yeah, no, love it. It's Jeep is pretty much done at this point, just in terms of the current upgrades and where I want it to be. We'll see where the future goes, but good stuff for now.
Awesome. And I haven't seen, are you drinking, you got some whiskey or?
So I do. So I have in a little plastic cup here, really classy style, and sorry for the virtual background kind of flaming out. And I'm at our cabin right now, and I didn't have literally any bourbon here other than the Blantons here.
Oh, Blantons. Hey,
Yeah,
that's
good stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know who I need to send Blantons to, but man, that's going to be tough to find. I didn't even know I had this here.
That's the best kind.
Pick me. I'm your best friend. So, yeah. So no, good stuff. I was going to be pouring wine if I didn't find this in a cupboard. So
that's kind of what I've expected out of you. I really haven't seen you drink much other than the whiskey that Ed brought on our last trip, and then wine. So
I'm well known for bringing wine out on the trail.
Well, you don't just bring wine. You bring expensive wine that you should be pairing with like steak, but instead we're sitting at a table eating ribeye at like 5 degrees outside.
So Kate and I have a rule on that. We never ever bring anything but really good wine. If we're gonna bring wine on the trail, it's got to be good wine because it's like it just doesn't do the setting justice to have crappy wine when you're sitting in some like beautiful setting. So like, Greg, I'm on your side, dude. We bring wine all the time, and only the good stuff for the trail. The trail should get the best that you got. I think.
No joke. That's what I try to bring out. I am kind of tied to the wine business loosely with my work, and so I have some good stuff to get out there. So love it.
Awesome. Sweet. Doc, you're the next one in the order here. So tell us what you're driving. What's your channel about?
Oh man, so I've always had Jeeps but I haven't always had kids. I have a 7 and a 5-year-old, 2 little boys, and so when my little guy, my oldest one, was probably about 3 or 4, was time to start taking him out camping and stuff. And so we would do a little bit of ground camping, and then I started running into people with these rooftop tents. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome with a kid, especially. And then the YouTube was really just me trying to record these memories of like hanging out with these guys so that they can look back on it. So I can look back. Like we watch more of my own channel than probably anything else. Right. It's just like, I remember
that's awesome.
This was 3 years ago, and so we do that. And then, and the Instagram thing just kind of happened because some friends of mine were like, "Oh, put pictures on Instagram," and the people liked it. It's a 2013 JK, and if you were paying attention, man, we replaced the alternator out in the middle of Kofa Wilderness yesterday, and it was yesterday or the day before. It's running together. It was.
Did you days. Bring a spare alternator with you? Like, how do you replace an alternator?
I'll tell you what. So let me just give a quick shout out to Willie's Overlander. If you guys know who he is, his name's Jeff, and that guy drove hours to go outside the wilderness to Blythe, California. He crossed state lines.
I know Blythe.
There was none, Blythe, there was nothing in Quartzsite, and so it was either Yuma or Blythe, and so he went to Blythe and got the only alternator in town. I called around, thank God for Starlink to be able to, do this kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and the way that we knew it was the alternator was I was having all this crazy electrical stuff, and then literally popped up the hood and it was smoking. Like the alternator was smoking, and the plastic on the alternator housing was melting. So we checked it with the temperature gauge. It was over 500 degrees. Yeah. It was just like, all right, we're gonna have to replace this thing out here. And we did this thing where we traded batteries out with my buddy Jail Overlander. So what would happen is he would give me his battery, and then we'd jumpstart his vehicle off of somebody else's vehicle so that he could charge my battery while I drove his battery down to 6 volts. And then I'd give him his battery back. He'd give me my battery, which is now back to 12 volts, and drive. And literally just
so you're on the highway, just like waiting for the battery to die. Your power, you lose your power steering, everything, and then like pull over to the side of the road and hot swap the battery.
No. We're on a trail. We're like 6 hours from a road. So yeah, this was a crazy thing. So we're swapping batteries, and then my secondary battery was being charged by somebody else's rig. And it was a fiasco. And we did all that just to get close enough to a road so that then Jeff could jump in and not have a 6 hour there and back. And we knew we had to get out anyways. And it was just like, let's just keep the the group together, but anyways, yeah. So we did that. So that Jeep, I love this Jeep. And it's, man, we spent 54 nights in it this year, on top of it. And I can't imagine getting rid of it, but it's breaking down more often than it should be. So I don't know. We might
Are you gonna switch to Toyota? I hear they're really reliable.
Yeah.
Unless you run them into a tree, Ed.
Oh man, I have to change my name to Doc.
Is that too soon?
No, not happening.
Time for 392, Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. It's that's probably where we're headed.
Yeah. It's so funny. Every time I go on Instagram and I see a new story from you, I'm just like, all right, I need to take a seat. I need to like absorb what I'm about to hear. And the first thing I saw was you had like an oil over temp, or what were you saying? Like an oil hot or something.
Yeah. So that hot oil thing,
right?
Yeah. If you watch that story, it's probably not still up, but basically that's every light was going off, and hot oil is what goes off on your dash as like the primary thing when everything's wrong. Mm-hmm. And so, the oil was not hot. Like I could check the temperature of the oil and it was not hot, but it was saying hot oil. And that turns out that that's just like, your alternator died.
So it's like the Jeep's like saying like, maybe if I just flash this light, they'll stop driving.
Yeah, I need to give him something to tell him he should pull over and stop driving. So
the worst thing possible.
Hey, so Ed is new to the Jeep scene with a JL, and I have a JL, and these are all JK owners all around us here. So Ed, just want to let you know, we don't have these problems. Okay. We have we don't have these.
So here's the deal. You will in 10 years, but the difference is you won't be able to fix yours. At least we can fix it.
Well, I'm keeping an eye out for the eco diesel issues that might come up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
True.
Yep.
Ed, how long have you had a JL?
Oh, just a couple of months now. So
how did you like being referred to as a Jeep guy?
Man, it's so weird, man. Okay, so for those of you who don't know my channel, I used to drive first like a Tacoma and then a Tundra. So I was a Toyota guy all the way. But I will say during that ownership period with the Tundra and the Tacoma, I had like recall and TSB notices that I got on email. I mean, even Toyotas have that, people don't really talk about it, but it happens. So after that, jumped into the Ram, and then speaking of the Ram, just got a recall notice on the tailgate. I guess there was like a misaligned tailgate thing, which I need to take it to dealer. I haven't had any issues, but I guess it's a good preventative measure. Yeah. And then I got a Jeep, so it's like now I'm on Team Mopar, so I'm anticipating all these issues based on what everyone is saying, right? But that's just part of the fun, right? Like, I mean, we can't just have all good times without any challenges.
So I first like heard of you when Kevin did his video that was freaking amazing last year. Yeah. And you were in that, and I'm like, oh, this guy looks awesome. You jump on his channel, I'm like, Toyotas and
yeah, it's funny. I mean, as creators, all of us, we will probably start to see, or if we have not already seen, there's different kinds of like fanatics, right? There are the brand fanatics, like hardcore Jeep, hardcore Toyota, hardcore Ford, or whatever, and they'll give you a hard time. They'll bust your balls sometimes, but whatever, it's all in good fun, in my opinion. But we also have the people who are fanatics of just going outdoors, so they don't really care about the brand. They're just like, oh, you like to use this kind of tent or this kind of rooftop tent, and then you build a bond through that with some of my subscribers and viewers and fellow YouTubers too. So it's just kind of like an interesting like demographic and field that we start to encounter when we start driving these different kinds of rigs. But this is a Jeep. Sounds like a Jeep live stream right now, so I'm not gonna stray beyond that.
I think that if you go out a lot, like what I've experienced is if you go out a lot and you use your rig a lot, for the most part, you become a fan of rigs. Of rigs in general. It's like it's one of my favorite things about like Overland Expo Pacific Northwest was just seeing everyone's actual rigs, not like the sponsored rigs, but like in the camping area, just what people had paid for with their own money and built themselves. And like, it's just, I think a lot of people, like you said, Ed, just love rigs. And even though I might not buy a Subaru, like I'm still, just because that's just not me. I'm not, nothing against Subarus, but like, I don't want one, but I love seeing someone else's and like what they've done to it. And I would definitely go on the trail with one.
Agree.
Yeah. Check out my buddy. So my buddy has a Porsche Cayenne, and we're building it. We put a roof rack on it, gave him my old tent and stuff, and
Nice.
coming out. You'll start seeing him hanging out with me a little
That's
bit. So
cool.
that's gonna be a fun one.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Hey, in the chat, I don't know if you guys have the chat. I got it on my phone down here. Carolina Overlander says need a JT on the channel. And what's up? Kevin?
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
yeah,
Carolina Overlander.
yeah.
I gotta be honest, when I heard Ed was getting a Jeep, I'm like, oh sweet, what color JL or JT did he get?
Yeah.
I was shocked that he got a JL, which I think is awesome. They both have their place, but I totally agree. Actually, we were talking about this when we were around the campfire, I think. Like a JT on like 37s or larger looks so badass. It is
But
so cool.
but if it's less than 35s, it looks super weird.
Oh yeah.
It looks like
You don't,
a-
yeah, I don't know you if
Yeah.
you have one with 33s, but it looks awesome. Yeah. So actually, Ed, surprised that you deviated from the truck realm there, but
Well, if I didn't have the Ram, I probably would have went the JT route. The thing is, I already have something with the truck bed. And the thing is, if I looked at the J on the JT, when I really looked at it, I was like, okay, the departure angle looks better on the JL, as well as the shorter wheelbase. I think it's a little bit shorter than the JT, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to do something like that where I've, better breakover angle and all that stuff, like where I can do more of the crawling type of stuff, but still overland in it. Because I can't do that with the Ram. As much as I would love to do some of the technical trails with the Ram, it's bad enough I can't drive it as it is right now. But you put a freaking technical trail in there, and the Ram will just be too beat up to drive. So with the JL, it's more capable on those things, and I've really come to love driving the Jeep more than the Ram these days. It's crazy to admit because the Ram is really comfortable inside and nice and spacious and really cush. But the Jeep, there's something about just driving it around. Like I just can't explain it. But now I get it.
Bug right
Now he's
there.
getting it, getting addicted.
You got him.
He's
I
loving
think
the Jeep
part of it
wave.
too is like, and I think, I mean, everyone probably has this, even with newer Jeeps, but like I've come to know, like, especially with a manual, and like my Jeep's showing its age a little bit, but like you kind of just start to learn tendencies. Like I kind of know ahead of time, like, hey, is first gear going to be enough to get me up this hill? Whereas, when I was first starting out on trails with it, I'd get halfway up the hill and then find out, no, that's not enough torque. And then I'd have to crawl my way back down. But it's like, you kind of just start to learn. And actually, Greg's been with me enough. He probably knows all my Jeep noises too, maybe better than I do. So, they almost like kind of form their own personality, if you will. I don't know why it's any different than the other. I don't know, maybe because it's smaller, or you just kind of feel like you're, like you're sitting in the cockpit, like you're one with the vehicle. But there's
I was just editing a video, Kevin, I'm gonna try to post on Sunday, and I noticed that as your Jeep drove by, I do know those sounds. I'm just like, I hear the and then mine drives by and it's like so
Sure.
yeah,
Give it
no,
time.
I know them well, that's for sure.
All right. Sorry, keep it around the horn here real quick. We'll hit Ian. What are you drinking over there?
You know what? So Angel's Envy. If you guys know this stuff,
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I was out of bourbon completely up in Lone Pine, and there's a grocery store, and they've got this selection, and I needed something that would fit, like kind of in a particular pouch, and this bottle is perfect for it. And so I drank it, and I was like, actually, this is really good stuff. So I tend to drink this or Woodford Reserve are kind of my two go-tos.
Yeah, Woodford's good too. Ed, what about you?
Sorry, I was just responding on the chat. So,
Oh, you're good.
so someone gave me a gift, and I did not open it till just right now. For this occasion, I popped it open and I was trying a couple of sips on it. Typically, I like my whiskey neat, but I put it on the rocks this time because I wasn't sure what the flavor was going to be like. So this is, if any of you guys have tried this, let me know. Do you see this?
Oh yeah, Four Roses.
Oh yeah, Four Roses. Yeah,
Sure.
What do you give me your honest thoughts on this drink?
it's an everyday drinker.
Yeah, it's
I think.
middle of the road.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't drink that much whiskey. When I do, it's either with steak or when I'm with, friends or, gathered, group setting and stuff like that. If any of you guys have tried this, maybe it's because of that, but I don't know. I think I'm going to put this one down and I'm going to swap it out because I see all these people with their fancy drinks right now. And I think I need to take it to the next level. So let me show you what I'm going to pour here.
All right. He's got something special.
Oh, he's at the bar right next to his workspace. That's smart.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
So for tonight, I think this is a special occasion. I don't really drink this too often, but we'll go with this.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
Unlimited's good stuff.
Then this one I could definitely
really
drink
good.
neat, so I'll just do that. Let me just pour it down. But yep, that's what I'm drinking.
Sweet. All right. Next is Mike. Mike, we're bringing you into the fold here. Tell us about who you are, what your channel's about, and what you're drinking.
Yeah, so I am driving a 2017 JK with about 75,000 miles on it now. I bought it used with about 35. I started my YouTube channel now almost a year ago, actually a little over a year ago now. It's amazing to me to think. When I first started the channel, it was really just to document a trip I took to Death Valley with my brother, who's 5 years older than me.
I remember.
And he had just bought a 2021 TRD Pro 4Runner. And I said, well, let's take it to Death Valley and beat it up. And that's exactly, it was stock. It hadn't been done, nothing had been done to it. And we took it to Death Valley for about a week and really had a great time. And I was really just taking some GoPro video to kind of document it. And man, those first YouTube videos are rough in my opinion, but I've learned a lot since then, and I think I'm getting better. And it's just been a lot of fun. I've been overlanding with that Jeep for about 2 years now, and just had an amazing time with you guys. Just some amazing trips. Will, hoping to do some with you in the coming year, and Doc, you too. Really missed you at Kavanaugh. That would have been awesome for you to show up. But we understand with the rain you'd been in for a week.
Yeah, hey, don't let them off the hook completely.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but I'm drinking some Henry McKenna 10-year-old bourbon whiskey, and really, really good. I never tried it before, so this is the first for me to try some Henry McKenna. So really good, really smooth whiskey. So really good.
What I love is, Mike, your background is not a virtual background, though. It's just perfect. It's like, the fire is just perfect there.
Oh yeah. Hold on a second. Let me add some more wood to the fire.
Yeah, actually
B-roll for his next movie or
That's awesome.
There's the angle I like right there.
Oh yeah, thanks for that, Mike.
I figured you guys would like that.
Yeah, do some more deadlifts, man.
Yeah. I think you just demonetized this video.
I thought you guys would enjoy that. But no, it's been great, really learning to get to know all of you guys, and it's just been fun. That YouTube channel's been a blast for me to do, and I've learned a lot, and the editing I think slowly getting better, and it's just been a lot of fun this past year putting that up and exploring.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome too that we've talked about this ad nauseum, but especially with Greg, Mike, and I mean, we all individually met via Instagram. Actually, Greg messaged me, and then Mike messaged Greg, and like Greg and I started hanging out, and then we brought Mike brought us out with him on the last trip, or 2 trips ago when we went up to Kavanaugh and everything, and we've had a great old time. So it's kind of cool who you can meet. Ed and I have been talking through with each other for a few years. Will, let you talk in a sec. I talked to you because we just happen to have the same awning.
Yep. Sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. So Theo got us in touch, and then Doc, I don't even know how we started talking, but you and I met up in San Diego a year ago now, and so it's just cool that I think we're all that the internet, the way it is, good and bad, but we're all able to use it as a tool to be able to actually meet up with each other, find people with common interests, and so it's just kind of a cool avenue to do it.
It's match.com for overlanders.
Oh, right. Hey, I thought I had it on a private tab.
So I have a question for you guys. So overlanding or car camping has been around for a good amount of time, right? So before social media, before things like Instagram and YouTube, how do you think people got together in groups and got to know each other and go out in groups, trips, outings and stuff? How do you guys think that happened?
That's a good question. I think one way was probably organizations like Cal 4-Wheel and Adventurist and other groups like that. I think that's one way, but that's kind of how I met 395 Junkie. Daniel was through a Cal 4-Wheel event in California down in Death Valley. And I would have never run into Daniel without that event happening. And then we started talking on Instagram after that and did some trips together. So
great dude.
I think that was probably one of the few ways people with common interests like overlanding got together with organizations like that.
I think overlanding kind of is coming of age at the same time as technology is coming of age as well. So I think 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't nearly as many people doing it the way in which it's being done now. So I can imagine, 20 years ago, flyers at coffee shops and, you know, 4-wheel drive stores. I know here in Boise, we have a place called called Bucks, called Bucks 4-wheel drive. Yeah, it's a B and an F. And they've been around forever. They've been doing mods on vehicles forever. And that was kind of a place where they would put like flyers in the window, and they would have meetups and things, and you could get other people. But yeah, it's a totally different now, because I mean, we're all in different places in the country, which is so cool that, you know, like in some ways we're so much more connected now than we ever could have been back then.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll segue that right into Will. Tell us about your channel, what you're drinking.
Oh, yeah. Okay. My channel is Venture2Roam. It's a channel I started a few years ago. I love overland. I love the outdoors. I'm from Idaho. I moved away from Idaho into the big city. I was gone for 10 years. Like out of college, I left. Like I couldn't wait to get out of Idaho. I thought everyone who stayed there like didn't make it out. Lived in the Midwest and East Coast for 10 years, 6 of those in Manhattan. And then Kate and I, my wife, who we met in college in Caldwell, Idaho, we decided to move back home. Like we kind of crash landed both directions. We crash landed back in Idaho. And when we came back, we like all those people who say like Boise is so great, like we finally got it. It was like we finally, as adults, we finally saw what was so special about Boise, and all those things that I was dragged into as a kid, you know, going outdoors and camping and, you know, hunting and hiking and all of those things. We're now like experience them totally differently as an adult. And so we started going out. We bought a Jeep. I have a 2013 JK Sahara. It is Rubicon. It's a Sahara.
No.
It's a Frankenstein, because I basically turned it into a Rubicon. Had I to do it again, I would definitely buy a Rubicon to begin with, because I've spent way more on my Sahara to make it into kind of a Rubicon than I would have just buying a Rubicon. But it's got 80,000 miles on it now. It's not my everyday driver, so I only really put off-road miles on it. So it's low miles for 2013, but they're hard miles. You know, I've done just a ton of stuff to it. I haven't really made a lot of videos about modifications. I'm not like a modification channel. I'm much more of like an adventure travel kind of trip focused channel. I do stuff like I do some gear reviews, and I do kind of informational videos, but I'm definitely not like a modification or a build channel. So to wrap it up, I've been really going after it for a couple of years on YouTube, having a lot of fun. I've always been kind of a creative person, so it's like the perfect mix. When I go out overlanding now, I can be creative and I can experience the outdoors, like two things that I really love doing. And I've been inspired by everybody in this group. I would say like, this is proof that like you can be kind. Like the people in this group, people that I tend to gravitate towards are the ones that really have empathy, that they like to be part of a community, they like to communicate and share. And even though like people might think that we're competing, I guess, trying to get viewers for videos and in our channels and subscribers and things, like what I've found is exactly the opposite, especially with this group. Like everyone's been so kind, so helpful. Everyone's always trying to help everybody else, trying to be better and go farther. And so, you know, it's a pleasure to be here amongst these folks, because we have either been in collaborations, helped each other out. Ed's like the nicest guy in overlanding. Like, well, I had like 0 subscribers and Ed was so kind to me. Always, I would like reach out to him on Instagram and I'd be like, hey, I just made this video, man. Can you check it out? He was like, always like so encouraging, gave positive feedback. So it's a pleasure to be here. Oh, and sorry, my bourbon. This is called Trail's End. And it's from Hood River, Oregon.
Yeah, there you go.
So
tie that all together.
I love buying local whenever I can. And so I try to find just the best that I can locally. I'm going to tell you right now, this is up there with Angel's Envy, with a lot of like the really better known kind of Kentucky brands. This Trail's End stuff is fabulous. And I think it's like $40 a bottle or something. It costs as much as 4 roses. It's really, really good. And if you've never been to Hood River, Oregon, you've got to go. It is an amazing place. It's no wonder they make good bourbon there. So that's what I'm drinking.
Cool. Awesome. Sweet. Well, I'll cover, I guess, lastly, what I'm drinking here. I think most people watch my channel probably know who I am, but Kevin with Rhino Off-Road. I actually found a really cool bottle, and I got this, and then I was like super excited about doing like a bourbon tasting just because I wanted an excuse to like show this off. But on my last video, I went up to Tahoe en route to a work trip, which was in Fallon. We have a base there that we fly out of. And there's this really cool, like, small ranch that this family's owned for like 150 years. And they just, like, at some point in their past got into distilling. So they distill, I mean, mainly do whiskey, but they like have gone really legit. Like, people in Nevada, like western side of Nevada, slowly just starting to find out about it. It's called Fry Ranch. I'll show you the bottle here, but it's probably backwards because of the way they have the camera oriented. But either way, it's excellent for one, but also it's just like a really cool story. Like, again, this family's private ranch. They now have this like massive distillery and tasting room and stuff. So I think it's just kind of cool. It's about $45 for this, and they do. They have a single barrel. They have a couple of different batches that they do. But anyway, it's just thought it was kind of cool that like this small family just like went legit. And you can find this stuff. Like, I was in South Lake Tahoe and found this stuff in all the grocery stores. So like it's kind of a cool story. So.
I got a buddy who goes up there like every year. So do they have like a place you can stay or something, or is
We're
it?
in Fallon?
Yeah, we're at the Fry Ranch.
No, I mean, it's like Fallon itself is like it's a postage stamp. Like, it's very, very small. Fry Ranch, I don't think they do. Like, there are places around you can stay. It's only an hour from Reno.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very easy drive. It's also cool because that's where like the Pony Express and the old Lincoln Highway both kind of merge and go basically just just south of where their branches. So it's kind of a cool area for history too. Sweet. Cool. Well, knocked out some intros. Actually, I get this question a lot, and now that we have all of us in here, I wrote it down, so that'd be cool to ask. How do you guys, just talking about like the content creation aspect, like how does filming and being concerned with, as you're going out on the trail, all the prep work ahead of time, and then all the time it takes while you're out there stopping, launching the drone, getting the shots you want, all the B-roll, that kind of stuff. Like, how does that affect your experience? Obviously there's going to be I think the obvious is there are some negatives that come along with it, but what are maybe some of the positives you guys have seen, or how does it change your trip? Because there's a lot of people who don't have to worry about this. They can actually just go out and experience the trip for what it is, which is obviously great. And sometimes I don't know about you guys, like, there are trips where I just don't even bring camera gear because I just kind of want to keep it simple and enjoy a single night. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, how does that change your experience of going in the outdoors?
Who wants it? Who wants to start?
Yeah.
I think you just did.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I've kept it pretty simple, right? I mean, everything I film is done on my iPhone, and I edit every video just on my iPhone. I have a drone. But
that's crazy, by the way. That's insane. Like, you would save yourself so much time if you just used a computer.
No,
he's told us, I'm gonna dine you out here. He's told us he's been like laying in bed about his like wife's reading next to him, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta be quiet for a second. I'm about to do a voiceover."
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, don't feel bad. My earliest videos, they were all done on my phone too, man, using
Nice.
Power Director. Yeah,
No,
I learned a lot doing it that way.
nowadays. I mean,
Can't
Yeah.
imagine.
phenomenal footage.
What I've found is, when you're doing that stuff, it is kind of a sacrifice, right? Like, when you're cruising along and you see something, you're like, hey, we got to stop. We're crossing this. I got to fly the drone toward the bridge as we drive across to get the epic shot and all of that. It feels like, man, what a crazy waste of time or whatever. Like, when you're kind of right there in the moment, but when you get to go back, and sometimes you have people waiting too, right? If you have people who are not creating content with you, it's like, hey, everybody, like, hang on just a second. And you're on radios going, okay, drive now, keep the formation close, all those things, right? You feel a little bit crazy doing it. But what I've found is then when you're going back, you're watching it back, you're editing it, you're pulling it together, you're putting the music in and everything, yes, for content creation for subscribers and others to watch, but also for yourself. It's like you kind of relive it in a way where you didn't see it there in the moment necessarily. And then honestly, it's very rewarding, right? It's very fun to watch back. It's very fun to see from that perspective. And then you have it forever. I mean, there's so many things that, you drive right by, obviously every day, but on our trips as well. And you just didn't capture it all right then and there. And even if you weren't filming, you'd still have that same, situation. You just didn't, you're trying to remember back. You're trying to be like, oh, I remember that spot. It was, it was pretty cool. But being able to go back, watch it the way we do, honestly, that's the bulk of why I do it in the first place, is to be able to go back, watch it back, see it, and then have it, 20 years from now in that same context. So
I think there's like three kinds of trips for me. One is the trip that I just go on. I don't bring the camera. It's just for the family. It's like a private, and it's not about capturing anything. And like on those trips, I find I look at things differently. Like my eye looks at things differently on those trips. And it's really nice to have those. The second type of trip is one that you're going to make into a video. But it's like a trip first and it's a video second. And so you're really trying to capture what you can, when you can, without kind of cutting into the rest of the trip too much. And that's where you typically get, either you get like one long drone session or just a lot of handheld stuff. Generally, that's not a lot of outside of the car stuff. It's a lot of dash cam. It's a lot of out the window. It's a lot of person-to-person detail shots, but not a lot of wide epic shots. And those make really good videos too, if there's a story in there. And the third is the kind that you're like, okay, I'm going to film this. And you have an approach to it. You bring the right equipment, and everybody knows if there's people with you, like that's the expectation. And so you really focus on filming the trip. And I'm not sure any of those is better than the other. But I will say that when you set out to film it, the trip for me, the trip changes. It becomes almost that's when like the tail starts wagging the dog just a little bit. Sometimes it's like, okay, I know that rigs driving over bridges makes good shots for YouTube. So I'm going to be sure to get that. It's not like, oh, look at that pretty bridge. It's like, I need to get that shot. So stop, get the drone out, or set up the tripod or whatever it is, or water crossings. It's like, I know water crossings are money, so I'm going to make sure I shoot the crap out of that. Instead of like, oh, there's a water crossing, cool. And then you kind of like, film it as you drive through. So I would say that those are the three types that I go on. And I'd never go on a public trip. I've never been on a group trip or a club trip. I have a really, really small, tight group of folks that I go out with. And they are fantastically patient. And they're one of the reasons I make the videos the way I make them is because it's as much for them as it is for me. So I want to make sure that I'm telling their story for them. And it's like a love letter to them as well as, a YouTube video. So anyway, that's my experience with that.
Hey, Will, real quick on that, would you say the BDR series in Idaho was sort of that kind of setup for you? I mean, that was a fantastic series through Idaho. I mean, I don't know how much better you could have done on that. It was fantastic watching each episode.
Thanks, it was well put together. Yeah.
Thanks. It was. Yeah. I mean, I watch it now, like when you watch a video that you put out like 3 weeks ago and you just cringe. It's the same. When I watch the BDR, I just cringe on so many parts of it, but I know it was probably the best thing I've filmed so far. And part of that was because I had Rob from Revere Overland with me. And we shared 100% of our footage. So, every couple of days we would swap all of our data. And so, but on the trip, we were always kind of slingshotting each other with coverage of different things and communicating around that. But I wanted to set out and make like the definitive Idaho BDR, four-wheeled Idaho BDR film. So like I was, from beginning to end, I was going after it on that one.
Yeah. Incredible.
Little too much gratuitous rib shots. When I watch that thing, I get hungry.
Yeah, we did have rib points. So I had I used a service called Licked. It's LICK''D, which lets you license popular chart music. And that was one of the things I tried to insert into that to make it just a little bit different. But you can't do it if you have sponsored content. And so that that video, even though I had sponsors on that trip, I didn't feature any of them, except I did do a little like wink and nod to the Otzi grill that we had, and that's where the ribs came in. So we had ribs twice on that. I made them their own video of that I gave to them to use for promotional purposes. But I just had such a good time. Like I could not film the ribs on the flames. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, you also did some promotional for Clamato. We learned that you love drinking.
Yeah, it's just so gross. I will never drink that. Never give that to me as a gift, please. That's disgusting.
Ed, what about you?
Yeah, you know what's funny is and like what Will said, there are different types of trips, that's for sure. But with like what I've noticed just with my schedule and stuff like that, I have to really kind of try to combine everything. So, a lot of the time, even when I don't want to film, when I go somewhere and I see scenery and like that, I'm like, dude, I really want to capture this, right? But the crazy thing about, just kind of creating content when you're out camping, because it sounds like we all started off just enjoying the outdoors, camping, overlanding, and all that stuff, and then just kind of YouTube kind of fell into place, and then we're sharing now, right? So before, when I used to do this without filming, like it started off backpacking, there would be a lot of emotion-based stuff, right? You go out there and you see all this beautiful scenery, these trees, these mountains, wherever you're at, and you just have all these feelings, right? Now, what's happening is when we're filming content, there's a little bit of logic involved. When I say logic, it's not just about the person in that environment, in that nature anymore. It's all about how are we going to share this with people who are going to watch our experience, right? So now we're being more mindful about, this is going to be a beautiful shot, or I see this as something very beautiful. I want to share this. This I think is beautiful, but I don't think other people who are watching it are going to be very intrigued by it. It's not going to hold their attention. So I'll just enjoy it myself for the brief moment. And then the other stuff that I see that I can share, then I'll just share those things. Like if you look at certain creators, like the big time creators like Casey Neistat and all of them, every second of their shot is something interesting that's visually just, appealing, right? So that's what you want to do, right? Ideally, right? Just to capture it and hold the viewer's attention. And how successful we are, it just depends. But, when I'm out, I notice that even though filming might take over some of the time I might have spent just enjoying something, and like what some of us have mentioned, later we can reflect and look back on it and enjoy it even more, because it's more of what is this? It's an infinite thing. It's not finite anymore. It's not something in our memory that passes. It's something that we can look back on and enjoy over and over again. And the beauty of this platform is we can share with other people. So for me, it's made my experience and enjoyment a lot more greater than it was ever before I started creating content on YouTube. And and it's a great thing, because like I'm sure all of us, just because of, I haven't seen Ian Butler, your content yet, but I am going to subscribe and check out your stuff. But everyone that I've seen so far, like, it's inspirational. Like, we have all great content. Will's the only guy out of all of us, I think, that has made great content since day one of his channel. But
you guys like corner videos that I like the rest of us have posted.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Every one of them though is such
But haven't we gotten comments where people say it's inspirational, like it makes them want to go out and do stuff that we've done, and that's like, I think, the most ultimate rewarding thing that accompanies our experience and time and enjoyment in the outdoors. So it's like a big, nice, warm, fuzzy package too, So yeah, for me, just to answer your question, it hasn't taken away from my experience outdoors creating content. It's actually enhanced it.
Ed makes videos. So like, I remember I was watching a video. I don't know when he made this, Ed, but it was like you were gonna go out overlanding, but you couldn't find any spot, so you end up like having lunch out of the back of your truck on the side of the road. And I was like, I was like, you're one of the only people when I watch a video, like specifically, I remember that one, because I was watching you eat lunch out of the back of your truck, and I'm like, why am I watching this? I was like, why have I watched this whole thing? Like, it was so interesting. Like you like kept my attention the whole time, and it like took me a second to be like, he's just eating lunch.
Dude, no,
I gotta agree with that 100%, because Ed has some of the things I just remember about his videos is like when he's closing that tent and it's crunching because it's frozen, the sound of that tent crunching as he closes it. or, you know, just heating up a pot of coffee in the morning on that electric burner, or, you know, just simple thing, or stepping into the snow with your Instagram shot there with the music behind it. Little things like that just stick in my mind. So
Yeah,
kudos to you for that, because that says something about a content creator, I think.
Thank you. And I think that's all of us. I don't know why some of those things kind of stick, because it sticks for me too when I see certain creators, and the things that you don't think you would remember, you end up remembering, you know, and it's just, that's just the magic of, you know, content, right? Like you just don't know sometimes, like, you know, you'll make a video you don't think will do good, all of a sudden does great, right? Like, and people resonate, whether it's because people resonate with it or with the person behind the camera or in front of the camera or whatever it is. It's just, you know, we do our best, and then, you know, we just enjoy it for the most part. And then
I think it's real, right? Because like that's probably all happened to some of us. You like go out, you're like, man, I know the best campsite. Like this is just going to be freaking gorgeous, right on a river. It's going to be snowing, and you get there and there's a whole bunch of vehicles there, and you're just like, oh, well, shoot. And for a lot of us, it'd be like, well, I guess turn the camera off, throw it back in the car, and we'll figure something else out. But to actually be like, well, I'm here to tell a story, so here's the story. I went out, I tried to camp somewhere amazing, and it didn't work out. I think those are, and it's cool too, because like you have obviously the videos with like just you know, incredible amounts of snowfall, whatever it is. You're like, you're digging you're like starting your truck and scraping off like 2 feet of snow off your windshield. But you also have the videos where it's like, it's literally just titled like, this didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Or like you had a solo camping trip that you did with your truck, and I think the video somehow it starts something to the tune of like, you know, like sometimes you have those amazing weekends with incredible views, blah, blah, blah. This wasn't one of those trips. You know, it's like, well, yeah, that happens.
I mean, what's crazy is like, so I think all of us, we try to make the most of every situation, I think, right? From my limited experience with everybody and knowledge of seeing your content and stuff, you know, we want to make the most of a situation for YouTube or whatever, right? So when the place I was so foolish, like that I went out on a weekend. It was a popular trail in Mount Hood, out of all places, so a lot of people go. I should have known better, you know, and all the popular spots with the best views, of course they would be taken, you know, like. So when I was leaving, I was like, man, I don't have much footage. Is it going to be throwaway footage, or is it going to be B-roll for a future video, or what am I going to do? I'm like, but I'm hungry. And then, so typically, I don't know about
like
you
Will
guys.
said, you're like, I'm sitting here, you're like, I think I just watched the guy make top ramen for 10 minutes.
I know. But the thing is, like,
I can't turn it off.
But the thing is, another thing that what Casey Neistat told me that kind of stood out and just kind of stuck in my head is if you're doing something that no one else is doing and it's somewhat interesting, or you can tell a good story about what you're doing or how you're delivering it, and it's unique, sometimes it'll be a good thing, you know, even if it's like the most minute thing, because he'll make a video about the smallest things and it's really interesting, right? I watched through all of his videos, like from beginning to end.
Yeah.
But the thing that I have an issue with is, I don't think a lot of you guys have an issue with, is I still get nervous when there's other people around that I don't know, or strangers and stuff, seeing me with a camera, whether it's on a tripod or if I'm holding it. Like I can't go to inside a grocery store and film myself trying to pick out food for the camp or whatever, you know. It's like I just still have that kind of like a little mini phobia. So that time was extremely nerve-wracking because I set it up on a tripod and it was on a main road where people were passing by. I'm like, man, this is gonna look so foolish. I'm eating top ramen on the back of my truck and there's all these people passing by on this trail. But know,
go ahead. Sorry, Ed.
Yeah. Well, no, and so we just try to make the most of it, and we just say, hey, you're just gonna suck it up and try to make the most of it and enjoy it, and focus on your noodles. That's what I told myself. Focus on your noodles and just eat it and enjoy it, and then worry about everything else later.
It's like a life lesson. Just focus on your noodles.
Focus on your noodles.
Right.
I just had that happen, and I was in. So I'm making this video about my first time in forever hunting, and so I go through this whole process of buying a new rifle and all the equipment, and and then I go on this sub-zero wolf hunt, but I'm in like Cabela's or Sportsman's Warehouse or one of these places, and I'm like, I'm trying to document this. And so at first I was like, excuse me, is it okay? I've got this little YouTube channel thing. Is it okay if I just like turn my camera on for a second? Everyone's like, we don't, just do your thing. And so then I went up like, I'll turn on the camera, and I went up like trying to find a quiet aisle to walk down, and to do like, I'm in Cabela's, because it's just like, it's so weird. to be doing that, to watch someone else walking around, you know, with a camera or a phone or whatever. Yeah, it's not
like, I feel like a 13-year-old girl right now, like like, you know, taking shots on my food so I can go post on the gram later. But we basically do the same thing, just with Jeeps instead of
pretty much.
Gents, we got about just over 5 minutes or so. What I want to do real quick, we take like a minute apiece, just talk about what 2023 is going to look like for you, either personally, for your channel, or maybe both. So Greg, we'll bring it back to you.
Yeah, so this year I've never been to Overland Expo. Plan on getting to one of the Overland Expos out here, and I do have a work trip up to British Columbia, and so I actually contemplating driving my Jeep up there, and I'll probably stop through and see you on the way.
Yes.
And we'll see that if that comes together, that's going to be in March. So looking forward to that. Really, for me overall, just kind of more consistent uploads from my end. Like I said, this last year, I did more stuff in the tail end of the year. So kind of more consistent from that perspective. I should be able to get out a little more often. So looking forward to that.
Cool. Doc, what about you?
Yeah, you know, it's so last year was 52 nights in the tent. This year was 54. So I'm shooting for 56. But really, as the boys get older, we're able to get further and further. And so like this trip to Arizona with a 5-year-old, you know, I wouldn't have done this with a 3-year-old, but now that I've got a 5 and a 7-year-old, we're starting to strike further distances. And so I'd like to go someplace further north than I've ever been, which right now Laurel Lakes is about the furthest north I've taken the boys, and probably a little bit more Utah, because man, some beautiful stuff out there. And you know, as far as YouTube goes, I'm going to keep putting the stories of our adventures on there, but I find that some of this doctor stuff, for whatever reason, I've never put anything medical on there at all, and I feel like it's kind of a waste, right? Because there is I'll be out there with friends on the trail where they'll be like, hey man, by the way, I have this like you know, this chest pain that's been happening or whatever. Oh, I've got a portable EKG machine. Let me throw it. They're like, oh, this is freaking cool. Like, why didn't you make a video about this? Like, hey, it's a good question. I don't know. So maybe a little bit more of like the medical stuff, you know, in 2023, we'll see.
It's smart.
Cool. Awesome. Ed, I know you have a lot coming up. What do you want to fill us in on?
Aside from, well, so YouTube full time, but that might evolve into something else later down the line. But if it does come out to that, of course, I'll announce and fill everyone in. But for right now, what I'm really looking forward to is really upgrading the Jeep. I already got the lift kit, wheels, all that stuff, just waiting at a shop, waiting to be installed on the Jeep. Super excited. We're going to re-gear it to 513, do all that stuff. But the tires, right now, it's hard to find 39-inch tires anywhere. So right now, what I am planning to put are BFGs on there. So once that comes in and it's out of the factory, we'll get it on there. The Jeep's going to look a lot different. So I'm really looking forward to that and going out further, like Moab, Rubicon Trail, and doing all those things. And hopefully, you know, I can do that with some of you guys here, with all of you guys here. That'd be fantastic, you know, and do things like that and travel more and, you know, explore more around the country with the Jeep and maybe the Ram if I still enjoy it as much as I do with the Jeep. But yeah, that's the big part.
Awesome. And you have a Patreon meetup coming in the near distant future, right?
Yeah, in March, I want to do Death Valley, I think is what I'm trying to do. And I know, Greg, you see her coming up this way in March. Maybe we can coordinate something so that we don't miss each other.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I want to do a Patreon meetup in Death Valley. I'm trying to do like every month or every other month in different parts of the country. Quite possibly, if time allows, one meetup in the East Coast somewhere. So I do want to explore more Idaho. So try to get in touch with you, Will, and try to do some stuff out there. The only time I was out there really overlanding, we got stuck in snow so many times with Nate.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that, Nate. Yeah, I talked to Nate about that too, and he was like, it was just bananas.
Yeah, it was brutal. And I brought the wrong vehicle. I wish on that trip I really had the Jeep with the bigger tires. It would have been a much different trip for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The Ram
you guys
is
went like a quarter of a mile in one day.
Yeah, if that, man, if that.
Dude, we've talked about it. As much as it's great filming, it like you almost get so frustrated. You're like, I can't even handle. I don't even want to. Like, I know this would be great footage to get, great content. But you're like, I am so frustrated right now. I can't even. I can't even bring myself to do it. You almost need to like start, hit play, get the thing way out of the way, and just like it captures whatever it captures, because I'm not fussing.
Well, let me tell you something though. Those moments are sometimes where you get the best footage.
Oh, yeah.
So like, there are times where we're just like struggling and just going through all sorts of crap, and we're just like, man, I don't want to film. The exact moment you think like that, hit record, because that means there's just a lot of suck happening, and a lot of people want to see that.
That's when you put the camera in everyone's face. Like, how are you right now? And they're like, ooh.
It turns into the Kardashians of the outdoors and overlanding.
Yeah, that was this thing where we were like swapping batteries and like didn't know if we were gonna make it, and we ended up towing the Jeep a little bit and stuff. And it was just like, I just did not bring. I just didn't want to record. I was just, I don't know if I'm gonna make it out of here.
It's not normal. It's not a normal decision.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Mike, what about you?
So this year I've got a fly fishing trip to Montana planned. I'm really looking forward to it. 5 days, 4 nights. And I'd like to get with Doc and Will and Ed again, and all you guys, for some trip in the coming year. So I'm really looking forward to next year. I'm going to be doing a Bronco walk around next week, actually on Sunday of this week. Bronco Raptor walk around that's been outfitted pretty nicely. So I'm going to upload a video on that probably in the next week or so. But a lot of trips planned for next year, and certainly Idaho's on my list, and Montana's on my list, and quite a few other places as well.
Cool. Good deal. And Will?
2023. So 2023 for me for YouTube. I've got more collaborations planned. So I really love doing videos with other channels, either being part of their collaboration or hosting them on mine. So there's virtual and I would say like in-person collaborations trips that I want to go on with other folks. So for me, it's kind of expanding my little circle of trust in terms of who I go on trips with more in 2023 and seeing more places. We're doing our calendar right now. We're debating the Nevada BDR, the Oregon or Washington BDR, and the Wyoming BDR. And we're trying to figure out what timing works best and who we might be able to go with, or if it's just going to be me and Chris, or Kate and I and Chris and Elsha is kind of the core group. And then I think we're going to go do Glacier National Park this year. So it'll be my first national park, which is kind of hard to film, but so I think we're going to go up there. And I've been recently working with a trailer company, so I might do a little bit more showcasing trailers. We've got this idea to do, it's called Winer Landing. So Greg, you might appreciate this. We'll go to Walla Walla. We'll overland to Walla Walla, Washington, wine taste, and then overland over the Strawberry Mountain Range into the Willamette Valley in Oregon, and then end up on the coast. And so, but it's kind of like we'll go wine tasting, the Pinot Noirs of Willamette Valley. So there's some thematic things that we're working on next year. I would love to get down to like the Bishop area of California and then down to like Anza Borrego. Yeah. Just love to do those. I know everybody's already done it, but like it's calling me to go down there. And then I would love to do the Tahoe area. I've wanted to do Tahoe area for a long time. So those are what we're looking at. And then in 2023, the last thing is I will be getting a new overlanding vehicle. And I can't tell you what it is yet. And it's not like I'm keeping a secret. It's like I literally can't tell you what it is.
If it's a Bronco, he's gone.
It's not a Bronco.
He's out. We're on the same page, right? It's
not a Bronco.
All right. Is it going to be an electric vehicle?
I cannot tell. I will say that we do have an electric vehicle, and it's great. And there are 2 vehicles that we're looking at getting in 2023. And one of them is an electric vehicle that is also an overlanding vehicle, or could be used for overlanding, and the other is totally up in the air. So anyway, I can't wait to figure all that out, and then maybe I will do some builds on the channel, but that'll probably be mid to late 2023.
Cool. Sweet. I guess I'm last. So for myself, so I actually start the workup process for deployment throughout this year, which means good and bad things for the channel. The good things is I spend a lot of time in really remote places where I can take and drive my Jeep. And so I can actually get a lot more shorter trips out of it. That said, still looking to go to the expo. I'd love to go, will go to the Pacific Northwest, as well as the just Expo West as well. And then I really want to, like, when I thought about where I want to spend a lot of my time, a lot of it's driven by the fact that my son now, who's almost 4, is really at the age, which Doc would beg to differ, because I'm sure he brought his kids out at like childbirth. But I've kind of been holding off just because he can be a little bit of a handful, and I wasn't exactly sure how he was going to like it. But I plan to bring the family out a lot more, especially because that helps convince the wife to let me go on trips. So, but looking to go both to Big Sur, which Doc, I'll definitely be hitting you up to get some good routes from you, and then just the east side of the Sierra. I mean, I'm blessed to fly over it almost every day, and there are so many roads out there, trails to everywhere, that, you know, I want to actually put, you know, rubber to pavement or rubber to dirt, I guess, and start checking them out. So, yeah, should be an exciting year. This last year's been really incredible, and it's fun. Like, when I look at the same time last year, who I really knew in this group, it was Greg, and I think Ed and I have been talking for a long time, just really via Instagram, and the same thing with Doc, but hadn't met Will, hadn't met Mike, and hadn't met most of you guys in person. So I think it's just really cool that, again, we can come here and recap what the last year's looked like, and I'm really excited to see if we can reconvene this a year from now, you know, how different this might look as well. So
yeah.
Cool, guys. Any like parting shots? My wife's giving me the, like, hey, we got to go to dinner signal. So
Yeah, real quick, just want to thank both Will and Ed. You guys have done a lot for a small channel like me, and really want to thank you guys. You do an awesome amount of video content. Doc, you also, I mean, you're an inspiration as well. If I ever break down, I'm calling you, man. You're gonna be my first call. So appreciate all you guys, and obviously Greg and Kevin, you guys have been awesome. Love trips with you. So it's just been a great year.
Yeah, it's mutual. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together, Kevin. It was a great chat.
of course, yeah, any excuse to hang out with the boys and drink some bourbon is always good. So
Again.
awesome. We have just a reminder, and this is all going to be relative to how my layout is, but we have TrailNewbie here on my left, DocWrangler on my right, Ed Shin's down kind of here, Will with Venture2Roam's right here, and Mike with Flyfisher530. If you guys haven't subscribed, I'm sure most of you have at this point, but if you haven't, be sure to check out their channels. I have all their tags up in the title of this video, and then they all have Instagram as well, so you can you know, keep up to date with what the latest builds are. And it sounds like there's a lot of cool stuff coming down the line for all of us. So gents, cheers to you. Here's to a great 2023. Sweet.
Cheers.
You guys enjoyed this?
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, guys.
Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.
All right.
Peace.